So this one is for the luciferian woman and the human woman, the luciferian man. Lucifer fell to this world, right, to go after women. So why would a woman in this world take anything less than God's will for her life? And he doesn't understand God's will because his eyes have been blocked, his ears have been blocked. He doesn't understand. He's been going along based on the interactions that he's had with women where, like, the Jezebel flocked to the Luciferian men of the world because they want nothing more than to disrupt the harmony between the Luciferian men and the human fucking women. But we were the women that they went after. So they want to keep them entrenched in the world, eyes on them. I don't care if you're married. I don't care if that's your sister. I don't care if that's your mother, dude. They want to keep the men away from the human women. And the way they do that is they have a very narcissistic personality because they don't know anything. They don't know anything other than what it means to be a man of the world. So they've developed a very narcissistic personality because of the way that they have been blinded from God's eyes and God's ears. So they can't see it. They can't hear it. They can't quite understand it. And they encounter the actual women of God, and then they are like kind of caught between a rock and a hard place because the other place is these females who just want to keep them like in the world and like not creating heaven on earth, which is like the singularity between the material world and then the spiritual world. So there's this huge imposition where I'm just like doing this for a podcast reason. This is not like for you to see my face. I'm just doing this for a podcasting reason. And this is very important because a lot of us understand that like we have these divine marriages with men who have narcissistic abilities. Now, in previous videos, I was saying how there is like the enemy comes in to create a disconnect between the man's ability to manifest reality for what it should be, like in God's will. And the enemy comes in, he tries to stop the man from manifesting God's will in his eyes. He blinds his eyes, or he creates a lie to tell them that they can't do this, that, or the other thing, and it couldn't be further from the truth. Because if you keep going back to the cycle of persecution, you're going to find you're going to keep failing. You keep going back to the cycle, you're going to keep failing. But the object of their affection is that of the women of the world, because when Lucifer fell, he fell for the women of the world, right? He fell for God's women, not these other women who are just like, can I create an agenda for you? Can I spend your money for you? Can I change your mind for you? Can I change your agenda for you? Whether that's a sister or a mother or a quote unquote friend, they're not your friends. They just keep creating these cycles because they want to stop the Luciferian, the men who fucking fell, dude, from creating God's will, which is the singularity, that these men no longer continue to create the stupid will of the world, and they want the men to begin to create God's will. And it could probably go both ways, but at this stage in the game, I mean, you're probably pretty cucked if you're dealing with the other way around, but at this stage in the game, it is God is really calling for his fallen sons to stop listening and taking obedience from the agendas of the world to finally freaking create the agenda that he had created for them before he cursed them. He cursed them for the way that they fell. But this is the singularity. Now, finally, men have the opportunity to not be of that fallen nature. You need the discipline to integrate two personalities that are operating within the man. Every single man has two personalities. He has one that is that of the world or that of God. That is not for women. Women do not. And I've never been corrected. Women do not. In terms of the way they co-create with men, whatever they do otherwise, that's their own business. But the way that a woman co-creates with a man, women do not have. Do not ever forget this. Women do not have dualism. They do not change. A kind, generous, happy, loyal woman does never change her character. A competitive, greedy, not loyal woman does never change her character. Women do not change their character. Only men change their character based on their adoration for who they follow, God or Satan. And every man has a split personality. There's one personality that wants to follow the world, and there's a split personality that wants to follow God. They have to have the discipline to integrate the two personalities in order to create a singularity. That is survival, by the way. Survival. They have got to have the discipline to integrate both personalities. That is a man's job. Do you want to continue to just be folly and wasteful, or do you want to finally create something concrete? And if you don't find anyone that makes you want to make something finally concrete, then you need to just go straight to God, and you need to stay with God, and you just stay with that. But if you find somebody that makes you want to create something concrete with, then you need to go with that. But you can't, men of the world cannot continue to play both fields, because women don't play both fields. Don't get it twisted. They do not. Once you see that woman's character, once you see that she is not loyal, she is not ingrained in you, she is not kind, she's competitive. Once you see that, you need to cut her off. At the end days, there are going to be far more men than there are women. Historically, in the past, they would say that, oh, men need to marry multiple women. But the truth is that there are far more men than there are women that are compatible under God. You know, the Muslim culture is like one man takes like a bunch of wives, but like those women cannot go in God's kingdom. There are not enough women. There are far more men in this world. Because of the way that this world is so fallen, you need to go with a woman of God, and you need to focus on that, dude. You need to focus on God first. That's going to bring you to that. We are the prize. That's the biggest difference. Is like The inversion of the world is treating men like they're the prize, like we don't have other prospects. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Women of God, the way that Lucifer fell for the women and the way that women corrupted the world with the spirit of Jezebel, it's quite the opposite. You need to go straight to God to get a companion if you want to stay here. Women have far more rich and wealthy prospects. Even if you're not rich and wealthy, if you're rich in the faith and you're like got a potential, we've got far more choices. One of the choices is going in the rapture. We don't have to fucking stay here. We don't have to fucking stay here with you. We don't. So the reality is completely inverted where like men in America think that there's some kind of prize when the reality is the woman is the prize. And if you just put your law down, if you just put your freaking law down on the man, and if he doesn't accept, guess what? The women of God will go in the rapture with Jesus. We don't have to stay here. And there are far more men of God who can make themselves attainable to the women than women having to somehow conform. That is so satanic. It's super satanic because most women are freaking fallen as well. Like they're so fallen. Like they've been breeding like rabbits. Like we don't have duality. You're either a nice girl or you're a bitch, dude. You're either like a girl who doesn't gossip or you're a girl who gossips. Dude, like it's this or that, dude. Like women don't change their character. They just change their way of showing their character. But all men are fallen and all men have a dual personality. So, do you change your personality? Do you change your direction to suit the women of the world? Or do you also want to go in the rapture? Do you hate women? You want to go in the rapture? I mean, that's an option too. This is the thing. We are not disposable. We are not innumerable. None of us are disposable or innumerable, dude. Men are not the prize. And I'm not like trying to say it to be mean, but like men act like they're the prize and they're not. Like for the most part, like in my perspective, like I was brought up with like really strong men who have a lot of money. I've never paid for a date in my entire life. I've dated really good dudes. I've dated dudes who like top notch, dude. You know, it didn't work out, but like top notch, like highly recommend, but like wasn't for me. Dude, didn't work out. I don't know. Times change. I moved. I don't know. I moved away. But most of the time, it was because some female came around, showed them their tits, and they were like, I'm all in. That's how dumb you were. You were so dumb that some woman was like, oh, I showed you my tits. And then you were like, fuck that other woman. But they were just Jezebels. They were just demonic. This was just the curse over your life. And you fell for it time and time again, dude. And your dad did the same thing. Every man absorbs the sins of the father. He fucking does that. And oh, I don't do what my dad did, but you still kind of do it a little bit. And you need to do it like 0%. Like 0%. Do you as a man need to follow the sins of your father? The sins of your father, you need to follow 0%, dude. Like, none of it. Like, absolutely none of it. Like, that shit was so inverted. It's a generational curse. It's a generational curse. Don't know what else there is to say. It's a generational fucking curse, dude. Alright, I'll check you later. Bye-bye.